Good morning. Welcome back to the Actually Good Coffee Podcast, the show where we talk about all things coffee related. We took a quick break for the holidays. Let's get back into it. And before we start, I have a quick question for all of you. Do you know what the difference between the different waves of coffee are? Like when I say a second wave or a third wave coffee shop, could you tell me the difference? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today, because I've recently found that, like a lot of things in the coffee industry, most people have a hard time explaining what these terms actually mean. If you asked somebody to explain what first or second wave coffee actually were, they'd probably struggle. And it makes sense. The framework isn't something that most coffee drinkers are ever taught, but it does explain why coffee looks the way it does today, why it tastes the way it does, and why there's so much confusion around the idea as a whole. So today we're going to be talking about the first, second, third, and fourth waves of coffee. But I want to make it clear, these waves don't replace each other. They're just stacking on top of one another. Most of us drink coffee from multiple waves every single day without realizing it. So enter first wave coffee. Think of Folgers, Maxwell House, grocery store coffee. The first wave of coffee is all about accessibility. We begin in the late 1800s and run through much of the 20th century, right alongside industrialization, urbanization, and mass production in the US and Europe. Before this point, coffee wasn't universally available. It was often roasted at home in a cast iron pan, inconsistent, and regional. The first wave changed that by making coffee reliable, shelf-stable, and affordable. This is when you see pre-ground coffee, vacuum-sealed tins, instant coffee, and national brands. The goal wasn't flavor, it wasn't the information, it wasn't even the freshness, it was consistency. You could buy the same coffee anywhere, brew it the same way every morning, and it would taste fine. But it was predictable. First wave coffee made coffee a household staple. It fueled factory workers, office culture, and daily routines. Coffee breaks were created and first established by tobacco factories to improve morale. It made coffee a part of modern life. But there was a cost. To achieve that consistency, coffee had to become a commodity. Origins were blended together, farmers were paid market prices with no additional premiums, coffee was roasted darker to mask defects, and brewing knowledge disappeared from the home. Robusta dominated this time period because the focus was on functionality rather than flavor, and coffee became interchangeable. It didn't matter where it was from. It just had to get you to lunch. Just have to make it to lunch, and then everything will be okay. And that mindset dominated coffee for decades. The second wave begins when people start asking a new question. What if coffee could be more than just fuel? This really picks up in the 1960s and 70s and accelerates through the 90s. A few things happen at once. Global travel increases, Americans are exposed to European cafe culture, and brands realize people want experiences, not just products. Enter the comfy Tuscany cafe that transports you to the wine country, except instead of drinking wine, you are drinking heavily roasted, low-quality coffee, where you describe its flavor using words like bold or strong to make it sound tastier. I'm joking. The second wave is where coffee shops become destinations. This is when espresso enters the mainstream. Lattes, cappuccinos, mochas, drinks that soften bitterness with milk and sugar and create a comforting soft drink. The cafe becomes the third place. Not home, not work, but a familiar, branded environment. Roast levels begin to take shape during this time, and the market started to trend towards dark roasts as a way to deliver a more consistent taste and mask lower quality beans. Bitterness gets reframed as bold or strong. Customization becomes the marker of quality. You don't order coffee, you order your coffee, the way that Stacy likes it. And the second wave deserves credit. It made coffee social, built rituals around coffee shops, created millions of daily coffee drinkers, and elevated coffee culturally. But it also continued many first wave problems, such as supply chains. They stayed opaque. Origins were still largely hidden. Roast level masked quality, and flavor complexity took a backseat to consistency. A line I always come back to is this. Second wave coffee taught people to love coffee culture, not necessarily the coffee itself. So, As a response, we get to third wave coffee, aka your cousin who just won't shut up about his espresso recipe. A response to sameness, a response to dark roast, and a response to coffee being treated as interchangeable. People start thinking, why does coffee taste different by origin? Why are farmers paid the same for good coffee and bad coffee? What happens if we roast lighter and actually taste the coffee? The third wave reframes coffee as an art form. This is where you see single origin coffees, named farmers and producers, altitude, varietal, and processing methods, and lighter roasts. You also see manual brewing methods and baristas as professionals, not just servers. Coffee starts borrowing language from wine and food, such as terroir, tasting notes, seasonality. Supply chains change as well. Relationship-based buying comes into play, quality premiums are established, smaller lot sizes are emphasized, and experimental processing emerges. This wave does more for coffee quality than any wave before it. It reconnects coffee to agriculture, it educates consumers, and it raises global standards. But it also introduces new problems. At times, third wave coffee becomes overly technical, intimidating, and exclusionary. And your cousin still won't shut up about his espresso recipe. Ordering at a cafe begins to feel like you're taking an exam, except the teacher has tattoos and a nose ring and could probably beat you up. Language that makes people feel like big goofballs for liking sugar or milk. A sense that coffee is only good if you understand it. At its worst, third wave coffee alienated the very people it was trying to educate. And there's another reality that people don't talk about enough. Quality alone doesn't guarantee sustainability. Many third wave cafes struggled financially. Great coffee didn't always mean a great business, which brings us to today. Fourth wave coffee. As a preface, I just want to let you all know there is no single definition of fourth wave coffee. This is still a very new and emerging market. The one thing that I can say is that fourth wave looks to focus on one thing in particular, and that is synthesis. You might hear fourth wave coffee associated with advanced fermentation, green coffee science, data-driven roasting, climate resilience, and better supply chain economics. But there is one thing I haven't heard people talk about, and that's what I want to focus on. So when I was 22, I wanted to be a DJ. I was so invested that I even took a trip out to Berlin to visit a study abroad music program. It was called Factory Berlin, but when I checked it now on Google and look on their website, it looks like it's morphed into this neo-entrepreneurial company builder, so maybe it's for the best that it didn't work out. But this facility wasn't just an educational program you attend for a year. They had a cafe, an event space, a restaurant, and more. It was basically a college campus in one building. Funny enough, Made in Coffee partners with an art-centered collective in the United States where they offer studio space for those to pursue their passion, whether it's pottery, screen printing, or fabrication. They also have a massive event space where they hold art-centered award ceremonies along with a large cafe. Now, I've done this podcast for almost 2 years now, and in that time, I've already seen a lot of change in the industry. I've read about how Dunkin' Donuts has started implementing Eversys espresso machines, the most automated espresso machine company on the market today, that actually makes pretty great coffee. Or how Brian Niccol, CEO of Starbucks, has announced that he's all in on AI. And I realized two things. The first is that there are going to be a lot of layoffs. The second is that there is going to be a massive decline in daily human-to-human interaction. Think about all of the times you've been to a fast food chain this week. Within the next 5 years, you are no longer going to be ordering with a human. So, on the bright side, your Chipotle order won't be messed up. But I believe this lack of human interaction is going to take a toll on people. Remember how badly you just wanted to go meet with people during the COVID lockdowns? It didn't even matter what you were going to do. The one main benefit I see coming out of this AI revolution is a stronger desire for human-to-human interaction. And I believe this will lead to the foundation of fourth wave coffee, which will be all about experience, otherwise known as social clubs. Our head roaster, Jimmy, at Maiden recently went on a trip to UK where soccer teams are the focal point in a lot of these towns. He visited a local soccer club for a game and attended their clubhouse. Now, this clubhouse had conference rooms, bars, lounge areas for events, a fitness center, a cafe that was open to the public, and it all cost 60 euros a month. From what I hear, this is becoming more and more popular for all soccer clubs, and every town has one. So, I believe that coffee in the US will either adopt this model or become a key part of it. If you don't take away anything else from this episode, I would like to leave you with this. It's easy to look back on certain waves of coffee and critique them. But I want to challenge you to instead try to look at the big picture. Each wave has fixed a problem within the coffee market. And part of the reason why fourth wave coffee is one big amalgamation is because some of the issues it's going to solve have yet to be experienced. First wave coffee solved access. Second wave coffee solved experience. Third wave solved quality. And fourth wave solved sustainability. And another problem that we have yet to fully understand. It's an all-encompassing solution that will work as an extension to second wave coffee, centered around experience. We're all reaping the benefits of all fourth waves. You might drink a snazzy single origin pour over in the morning, grab a drive-through latte in the afternoon, and brew a grocery store coffee at home on the weekend. The future of coffee isn't about choosing the correct wave, it's about understanding them and building something that lasts. So that's it for today's episode. I just wanted to give you all a brief overview the next time you get confused at a cafe and wonder where you are. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Use AGCP when checking out at madeincoffee.com for 10% off, and I will talk to you all again very soon.